Welcome to another episode of the Bow Divas. We're here with Annalicia. Hi, Annalicia.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
And Julie Griggs.
Hello.
Hey. You're not invited to this party.
An intruder.
Yeah, we had
the
an
Frazier
intruder.
baby.
Anyway, so thanks for listening. Sorry we've been out for a couple of weeks. We've had some busy schedules. I don't know. We just had everybody's nights kept not coinciding, and then we went on an archery trip and then came back, and I had a funeral to go to, and the girls had something else going on, so that's why it's just not worked out for the last couple weeks. So, but anyway,
Here we are.
so we last I think episode we had was with Brian Stokes. I did have a chance to. We since then had went to Paris, Texas, for an ASA shoot and ran into Brian. He was very happy that we did the interview and said he even got a few calls afterwards. So
Fantastic.
yeah,
Very good.
yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, he got a couple of calls afterwards. So
That's good.
he appreciated the I don't know, sort of advertising, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exposure,
sure.
coverage.
Exposure. Although
like that.
he's pretty well known there anyway. I don't know that we make a dent in that or not. But
Well, yeah, but a lot of times when you advertise, like in a little spot in the back of the archery magazine, that's not telling your personal story and how cool you are.
right.
And
That's a
so
good point.
we really got to talk to him and his background and all that. So, that really
Yeah.
is good stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Hmm.
And he does have he has the old ASA trailer. Did you notice that? Did you go down and see him?
He had said in the interview that they had
Yeah.
got it. I went over there, but he was out shooting, and I
Oh.
don't think Faye was anywhere around either because I didn't see anybody.
She is a doll. I've never
She is
met
cute.
them, but the picture you guys put up on the Diva page, I was like, oh, look how cute she is.
Mhm.
They're very nice people, and that trailer is always like just buzzing with people around it. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the new ASA trailer, wow.
I
That was
know.
pretty impressive.
Was it?
that is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you need pictures?
No.
Hmm.
I really didn't take that many pictures this time.
I did. I took pictures of Otto. Yeah, and this was
Yeah,
Otto's
Otto
first
was
big
a
archery
star.
trip.
My goodness, the podcast dog. We need to get him a shirt.
I know. I need to get a little doggy T-shirt.
Oh, that would be awesome. Bless
and,
you.
a few
Sorry.
people recognized him too.
That's
a couple
too
of
funny.
people said, "It's Otto the podcast dog."
He is so famous.
He is
So-
famous. He's a star.
Was he like wagging his tail at everybody?
Yeah, he was really enjoying all the attention, but
See?
He was barking too, though, wasn't he?
yes, that was a little bit of a challenge because that's the first time. So that on the Friday we got down there Thursday. When did you get down there, Julie?
Friday.
Yeah, we got down there Thursday morning. We left at like, I don't know, 2 or 3 a.m. Got down there about 10-ish in the morning, 10:30. Got all signed up. I don't think we did much. Thursday I didn't do much shooting. Jim did go ahead and shoot the team shoot. And then Friday I went to go do my team shoot, and Anna went with me to the range to do the team shoot. And we got there in a group, and everybody's cool, yay. And so we got to our first target. All of us shot it, and we went to go pull our arrows. And as soon as I got about halfway down the lane to go pull arrows, he starts, ruff, ruff, ruff.
What was he
Start-
barking at?
Because I left.
Oh,
Because I left. And Anna was like,
Separation
oh, okay, this
anxiety.
isn't going to work. He was having separation
he
anxiety.
could still see you.
And
Maybe it's
then
because you were walking up on an animal.
I don't know. It was because I was walking away from him, I'm
Oh.
pretty sure. So she hung out there for a couple of targets, but it was clear he was not having it.
Poor baby.
So he got booted off the range. I booted him off the range. And he kind of did it. We went to that afternoon, Friday afternoon, I did the team shoot. And then I found Jim on his range because they were doing their first day of shooting.
Right.
And went over there. And as long as you, like when they got ready to go pull arrows, if you turned and walked another direction with them and he didn't see it, he would be okay. But he started kind of whining. I'm like, well, this is a pro range, so.
Yeah. Can't have him whining and barking on the
No, especially with
range.
pros. I mean,
Yeah.
like some of our groups would probably get away with it a little better, but
Poor guy.
Poor Otto.
I know.
those pros might get. There's some of how some people get like really like it's got to be quiet,
need
no
to-
distractions.
I
And
need to this summer when I'm actually out of school. Maybe I can make him up a really cute little pro looking little shirt with sponsors and stuff,
Oh,
and then put his
my
name on
gosh.
the back.
That would be
That's
really great.
adorable.
Some silk,
Yes.
like a silky shirt with a collar.
I know that you can buy T-shirts for them, but
Oh no, I'd have to totally sew it. You know, I make dog clothes, right?
no, I didn't.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
No, we
All
did
right.
not know that.
What does
Hold
she
on, I'm gonna
not do?
cover the microphone.
I don't
I
think.
make dog clothes sometimes.
I think this is
I
Martha
may-
Stewart.
May
It's
or
like,
may
wait a minute,
not
wait a minute, let's
have
start over.
Won a few contests.
Let's start over.
No way.
Oh yeah, Three Dog Bakery used to put on a dog costume contest.
Did they really?
I won like 5 years in a row, and I quit going because I felt bad because we always won the dog treats, and my dogs wouldn't even eat them because they were so big, and my dogs were so little.
Oh my gosh. I did not know that about you.
Yeah, we were hoity-toities on the plaza.
Oh my gosh. They have
Mm-hmm.
dog polos.
Oh, let me see.
Let me
If
see
you
'em.
don't want to make one.
Oh no, I don't have to make it. I can just put the logos and maybe paint on some little sponsors.
But he had a big day or a big weekend. It was a lot of walking for those little short
Is
legs,
it
though.
slick enough though?
I don't know. It's probably that, whatever material. I can't
Yeah,
think
like
of
a
it.
material.
knit type
See
of
if they have
yeah.
silky. Keep looking. Dig deeper.
Dig deeper.
Dig deeper. That would still be pretty great, though. But anyway,
Oh
So-
my goodness.
back to the archery.
Yeah, we're
So
derailing tonight. I wonder if it's from this.
I probably. By the way, happy belated birthday, Annalicia.
Yes.
Hey,
Happy
thanks.
She
birthday.
had a birthday a few weeks ago, so we've got a little bottle of wine celebrating again. So
Yep.
it's all good.
Yep, and yours will be next.
That's all
we'll
good.
have another bottle of wine.
But Texas, we got lucky. The weather was pretty great.
It was really nice, except for the wind.
Oh yeah, it was very windy. Oh, I
But
hate the
other
wind
than
down
that, yeah.
What were your temperatures like?
there. 70s,
Mhm.
mid 70s,
Yeah,
sunny.
'cause I know.
One day it was kind of overcast, wasn't it? Or was it Sunday? Sunday it was pretty overcast.
Yeah, Sunday it was overcast. I got hot on Saturday. I wore jeans.
I did too.
And I thought, oh, you'll be fine. You'll be comfortable.
I
And,
could
and
have
I
easily
actually
had
got
shorts on,
kind of hot. I should have had
Yeah.
shorts on.
except my white legs. But
Yeah, mine too. But oh well.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was it.
Yeah,
I hear the dogs barking upstairs now. So
it was a
Um,
nice weekend. Yeah, weather-wise, and the courses were nice. I thought the ones that we shot, I thought were pretty nice. Other than we wound up being on the Sims range when they shut it down. That was for our Saturday scoring round. So we actually
Oh.
shut the Sims range.
oh, that's right. That's right.
And so the wind was bad because behind you is nothing but the ball fields.
Right.
So there's really not a lot to
Mm.
block the wind if it's
Well,
coming through there.
I'm telling
It
you
wa-
what, I
it
went to the
was kinda
bags
tough.
because I always like to get a few shots off and stuff, and also make sure I had something go on with my bow too. I had to put new bearings in my bow Tuesday afternoon. Doug did.
Yeah.
Doug Hutchison, Chase Archery. Thank you very much. I'm gonna plug him.
Dr. Doug.
He is lifesaver because I had one locked up, so.
Wow.
Yeah, as I had to recite everything in. I'm still not sure that I had things. As a matter of fact, on the course Saturday, I started adding a yard because stuff was hitting a low. But, the bags where they have them in Texas, that's the one thing. It's always been that way in Texas. They have them in this, I don't know, what is that? It's a big open spot, but it's kind of elevated compared to the rest of the property.
Hmm.
And you get a crosswind, and, you're constantly fighting it, and it's like I'd shoot a few arrows and then I'd find myself just really pushing my pen over and then hammering the trigger trying to get it to go when as I drove by it basically, and I'm like, I'm stopping this. So then I went down into the practice range. It was much better down in there. I was like, okay, I can actually shoot down here instead of
Yeah, because you're sheltered by the trees, and the way the practice
Right.
range is set up, it's really not that much of a factor. Oh my goodness!
Right.
Come here, Otto.
right.
It's
Right.
like,
Buddy.
you talked about me.
Sweetums.
But
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, you
Thanks
were
for
more-
licking my glass.
you were
too.
kind of down a little
Yeah.
bit off the the highest elevation of the place, and a little bit out of the wind, the trees and so forth, because it was awful.
I stopped shooting the practice bags a long time ago.
Did you?
Yeah, I always get the practice range, and I just if I'm
That's not a bad
going to
idea.
warm up or whatever, I just get on the practice range and do everything I need to do there.
So
It's kind of relaxing.
let's
really.
talk about your weekend and how that went.
My weekend?
Mm-hmm.
It went pretty well.
Yeah.
Went pretty well.
So you started shooting on Saturday, not Friday.
Right.
Okay.
I'm shooting Women's Open B this
Okay.
year, and we shot at noon on Saturday,
Okay.
and that was our known yardage round on Saturday. And like I said earlier, our range wound up being the Sims
range, right? They
So I
converted.
don't know what the Sims.
The Sims range is the known yardage range.
Okay, so
it's called. They call it a limb saver. Isn't that what it's called? I don't know.
Yeah, the limb saver.
So is that just the sponsor of the range?
I think so.
Is it still, or
I don't know.
I don't know. It used to be. I guess it still is. I haven't shot the Sims in a long time either. But limb saver, it's 10 targets, and you have.
Known yardage.
But do you have the short range and the long
Mhm.
range still? And that's like a separate thing from the rest of the shoot.
It's a
and you
separate-
can shoot it as many times as you want to pay for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's $10 to shoot that, and it's kind of like the team shoot. It's like an extra.
But you had to shoot
deal.
that as your actual.
Our actual range, because all of the
Okay.
ranges were full, and so they had to.
Move the women's open B to another range.
Yeah, they moved us to the Sims range, so they shut down the Sims part of it for while
Wow.
we were shooting, and it was women's open B and.
What was the shape
senior
of your targets
hunter.
like?
They must have replaced them because they were not shot
Replace
up.
the cores?
They had to have replaced the cores.
Hmm.
And so senior hunter, women's open B, some of the kids classes, and crossbow
Okay.
were on that range.
That's not. They've done that several times. If too many people show up and ranges get overly full,
They'll
Yeah.
just.
they'll
use
take
that.
some of the groups that have maybe, I don't know, 20 people. Do you have about 20 in your class, or 15 to 20?
Yeah.
You know, some of them that don't. Some of the groups will have like 60 shooters, and then you get quite a few classes that have 20,
Mm-hmm.
15, 20, 25 shooters, and those can be kind of moved, combined with maybe another class that's about that same size, and moved to another range.
Right. And it wasn't bad, other than the wind.
Mm-hmm.
And the wind wouldn't have been that bad if we'd been back like
Mm.
on the rest of the ranges where
Right.
they were a little more sheltered by the trees. But
Right.
it was all open to our
Right.
back because there are ball fields where this tournament
Behind,
is.
yeah, there's you're
so
you're not
behind us,
actually
so it
down
was
in the woods.
No, it was all open.
Mm.
So it was open to our backs, and we were shooting down the lanes into the woods where the Sims was.
Right.
I mean, walking was really nice because there was a paved trail through there and everything.
Sure.
But wind was the biggest factor, and there were very few up scores turned in on the known day because we all had
Struggle with the
problems with the wind.
We had on day one. It didn't really affect us till we got to 1 through 10. At that 10 and where you make the corner, we had probably 4 targets that area was just a little more open because it was the very end of the ranges.
Mhm.
And we were dealing with some wind down there. But overall, that didn't affect us too much.
Yeah, the majority of our shots were the wind was a factor almost the entire way. When you first started off, I started on target 2. Down on that end wasn't too bad, but the more you moved away from like the vendor area, going away
Right.
from all of that, it became more of a factor because then it was very open behind you and you had nothing but the ball fields and
Right.
everything. And I used my 2 letdown limit 2 or 3 times.
Mm.
I did 2 down on that one end when it got windy. I had to let down once. And
Mhm.
So how
And
to
I
go
shot
on?
a 5 on one of them because I've been standing there and I'm just all over the place, and we were using an umbrella and everything.
trying to
It
block
just-
it.
So
yeah, and-
score-wise, if you hadn't shot that 5, how would you have been sitting?
I shot 6 down
Okay.
that day, and that was with 2 5s and
That's
3
pretty good.
8s.
Yeah.
So, it would have been a really good score otherwise, but
You
I
can't
mean-
change it.
I mean, you
Yeah,
can
know.
assume that
yeah,
it
yeah,
would
I
have
was
been.
just wondering.
Yeah, so really, and it wasn't bad. I was sitting in second at the end of that day.
And did you go into Sunday being okay with that? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
like it didn't freak you out or
Nope.
anything?
Nope, it has in the past.
So your books are helping.
Yeah.
And your
Oh yeah,
Your mental training
Yeah.
is good. Yeah.
that whatever champion book, I can't remember the whole name of it. I've really been reading it, and I've got what I call my nerd journal, And I've been jotting down notes and phrases and sayings in my nerd journal and reading through
You want
it.
to you want to hear something? Because my shoot went much better. I mean, it wasn't awesome, but it was much better than Foley. Just it was so much better.
That's
but
good.
You want to know what I've been doing? My non-archery son recommended I do this. I've downloaded a meditation app on my phone called 10% Happier. You can just do 5 or 10 minutes a day. It doesn't matter. But it does make you a lot more, it decreases your anxiety about just stuff in general.
So what does this app do?
Makes
It's
you 10%
guided
happier.
meditations. It's like
just-
makes you,
What?
It makes you 10% happier.
that's what it's called. It's called 10% Happier. And it's just guided meditations.
Huh.
In those books that I've been reading, they talk about
About
meditation.
meditation.
Do they really?
Yes, they do.
And I've also actually Anna made me do a stretching yoga that I found on YouTube too.
We
So
should
I've been doing that.
Why don't we just
Barb should
write a
demonstrate,
book?
and we should video it.
Okay.
Yes, let's do it. You should do a
It
demonstration
just makes you
video.
kind of not care.
Let's have her.
Does
like,
that make sense?
Yes.
Can
And
we
you-
have her Indian style on top of the table? And the
Put a
okay
dot in my head?
The okay position with your
Yes.
fingers.
Yes.
I just assume that's the noises you make.
Well, let me tell you that yoga stuff is like, it looks easier than it is.
Yoga or meditation?
Yoga.
Yeah, because I see
Meditation's hard too.
Anna was rolling around on the floor when I came here the last time, and
She was the one who made me do it because my back's
Yeah.
always hurting because of
Mhm.
being on the computer and then archery. So she's like, you got to do, and it actually does help, but it's not easy.
Yeah, she was
Yoga's
yogaing all
hard.
over the place. I was like, go Anna.
So anyway,
And it
she
made a
likes
difference,
it.
though. So
Yeah.
you were calmer and less.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had a freak out on Sunday, and you can.
Did you get your app out?
I should have. I wish I could have. I got my head. I mean, I shot about 4 or 5 targets really bad and couldn't get out, and then finally got out of it, and then I started shooting really well. So it's coming along. It's so much better than it was
That's good.
a year ago. So
I feel like the stuff that I've been reading and implementing.
It's really helping.
Yeah, I shot, like I said, I shot those 2 5s. And that one, I barely caught the target. And I was excited because I had relaxed my back too much and it got away from me and jerked my arm forward. And the arrow, and I was like, oh boy. And one of the girls was like, oh, you caught it. But the next day I did zip one. I just totally misjudged the yardage, and I sailed the arrow over that sucker's back. It's probably still traveling.
Maybe it's on its way back.
It may be. It's like a boomer arrow. But
Heat seeking.
yeah. But I was okay with it. I mean, I was just like, oh, man. It was like, oh, well, those are the breaks, and went on. Before that, it would have been in the back of my mind. Oh, my
Yeah.
God. Oh, my God.
See, and
oh, my
I'm
God.
not-
And that's
I'm
kinda
not to
how
that
Jennifer
stage.
Brooks talked too. She talked about how she just fluffs those off, right?
Mhm.
That was Jennifer, right? That was talking about how she can shoot a zero and she's okay with it and she just moves on.
I think. I don't remember.
I know we've had so many guests.
Yes.
We've
try to
had so
keep
many
track.
great
I
people, yeah.
know,
Forgive
I
us.
know.
But
Sorry
honestly,
if
I
it's
think
not you.
I mean, after like working with Target Panic and all this stuff, I mean, it's honestly most of it is the head game.
Well, both of you
And-
truly love 3D, like to the max.
I like all shooting. I go shoot anything. I
Right.
don't care. I'd rather.
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable shooting at spot.
Are you?
Are you
Oh
really?
yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think I
yeah.
like 3D better. I think it's my first love, my original love.
Really?
Yeah, I like indoor and I like field, but I think 3D is where my heart always will be.
Yeah. I don't know. I like 3D a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Do you like the consistency?
What I like about I tell you what makes me like to shoot at a spot just for my shot is I can look at a spot and forget about my pin
Yeah.
much
Yeah,
easier than I can on a 3D target.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Okay, so it's easier for me to execute good shots at a dot of some
Right.
sort
Right.
than it is on a target.
Right. Because that's why I struggle with 3D is because I feel like there's no defined place for me to land on.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I need that. I crave. I mean, even if it's like where it's chunked out.
Right.
If I have that, I'm like, oh, I can totally freaking sink it in that hole. Just if they had that.
Yeah.
And I know that that's part of the magic of 3D is everybody's on the same level playing field as far as knowing right where to put it. I mean, people have obviously, they practice a lot and they've memorized the targets and
Right.
stuff. So there is that, and that's what makes them pros at that. But it kind of levels out the playing field, not knowing exactly where to place it if it's a long distance.
It is a challenge, especially if it's a long distance and it's a dark target for me.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I know the 10
Well,
ring
we
is
kinda-
and it's just aim at a 10 ring. It's not even trying to
Right.
aim
We kind of
at a
talked
certain
about
spot.
that when you and I shot in, where were we at? Marshall that day, because you were first shooter on one of those darks.
Ugh.
And I can't remember what target
And
it
so
was.
do you
it was,
rotate on your first shooter? Every
Yes.
single target? Okay.
Yeah,
and we were kind of in the woods, and it was that black buck or whatever. I can't remember even what it was. But it just looked like a big black silhouette.
Yeah.
It's like,
and when I get to one like that, I just look at where, I'll glass it. I'll look at it through my binos.
try to figure out the area you
and
want
I'm
to
like,
shoot at.
okay, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going for a 10 on that because
Right.
that's part of your course management. You have to be able to know
Where you're going to
like
stick
you're-
a 10 and
right,
where
and where
you
you're,
can
the
stick a 12.
distances where
Yeah.
you're more accurate and everything. But
That is
I did
true.
make a change right before Texas. I switched to the Hamski Peep,
Did you?
the long.
Do you like
with the
it?
baffled light.
Oh.
It sharpened up my target. I
So
can
it's a
see
long
more
tubular?
detail. Yes.
Keith has that too.
Yep, I can see more detail on a target now than I could before.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, he
that
likes
really
it.
helped me a lot.
And I think they've tweaked something else on that Hamsi.
well, they've
Peep.
had a recall on them.
Yes.
And if you have one, is from what I understand, you turn it in and you'll get
yes.
a new
The new-
one.
Yes, but I heard that they're great because Keith has been shooting one. too.
Yeah, visually speaking, it's really sharpened up.
Good.
I can see detail on targets that I couldn't see before.
Yeah, Jim's just ordered one. A lot of times, though, on 3D, because you're only the first shooter every
Fourth
four
or
or five.
fifth shooter.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm most of the time I'm trying to look at someone else's arrow.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Oh,
what I
yeah.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But whenever I start paying too much attention to my pen, that's when I start making just horrible shots
Mhm.
So,
talking to Brian really, I think, helped my mental game
on the.
because he said it's moving the same amount, whether it's
Right.
on a 10-yard target or a 40-yard target.
Right.
And I kept that in my mind, and I was able to just go with the flow with it. Okay, my pin's moving, just keep your eye on the spot, execute your shot, blah, blah, blah.
Good.
And I really felt like the majority of my shots, all but maybe one or two, executed well. My confidence was good. I didn't feel panicky. And that's the first time, I think, maybe ever, that I have felt that
That's
way.
awesome.
So it was really
So
good.
your
Mentally, it was a
Sunday-
great weekend.
Just from being naive, basically, to the sport, and also I was on a desert island called Warsaw, Missouri, and couldn't get like updates on whatever was going on.
Mhm.
But your Sunday, did you make up like points, or was it worse?
No.
So your points came on Saturday, and Sunday you maintained.
Yeah, basically. I mean, but everybody was like that. We
Right.
were all in the
Right.
same boat in the same situation.
Okay.
I wound up shooting 20 down for the weekend, which is really kind of a big, not I guess a down number as opposed to being even or up.
Mhm.
And boy, it fooled me. Our very first target was a warthog. Now our max yardage is supposed to be 40 yards. I was anticipating a 41 or a 42 yard target because there's a little bit of a variance there. And this was our judging day. And I stood there and I kept thinking, gosh, that sucker's about 44 yards. There's no way it's 44 yards. It can't be because and so I set it for about, I think, 41 yards. And my strategy was to set it a couple of yards hot for what I judged it for because I tend to judge them a little short and aim for the 12. Boom, 5 low.
Oh my gosh.
I did the exact same thing on the next target. Boom, 5 low. And I was like, okay, this strategy is not working. I'm going back to the way I used to judge yardage and shoot in my strategy. And it all started rolling along really well then.
Good.
Except we got down to the turn and that black buck. I thought it was a lot farther than it was because it was like the ground was taken away and there was a log. It was like at the end of a log. And I just really struggled with that. And like I said, that arrow, it's probably in Mexico by now. I don't even know what direction I was shooting. But anyway, so I missed that target. But, everybody else struggled too. And I think the group behind us, we heard somebody miss it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just
was a tricky
we
one.
all just, I think, had very similar days that weekend. I just
Right.
happened to have a little bit better
Yeah,
bad day than
you can
a
kind
lot of other
find
people.
hear the targets even on known yardage. You can hear the targets that people are having issues with. They had we had a javelina that was about 41 yards, but it was like when you stood at the stake, you really had to thread through a bunch of trees to get there. And I mean, there was probably 10 different trees on either, boom, all the way down. And I heard arrows hitting trees and saw a girl,
Yeah, and if you let it, those trees will really get into your head. You just have
I
to
try
tune
not
them
to focus
out
on them. I'm like, as a matter of fact, sometimes out here, I'll set targets like really close, like behind a tree. So like my 10 ring is just offset from the tree. There might be for that reason. So forget the tree. It's over here. I'm shooting at that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I'm going to Jesse Broadwater you. I'm going to do a full circle. What'd you do with your check to get it home? Did you put it in the back window?
Well, mine is small enough to fit in an envelope.
No, your big check.
And it will arrive. Oh, well, yeah, but they're not like the giant Jesse Broadwater checks. Yes, no, they wrote in a place of honor on top of everything in the back of the car.
Yes.
And my obnoxious plaque. Vincent calls them my obnoxious plaques.
Yeah.
Got to come home with another one.
Vince did pretty well too, didn't he? He's been shooting a little bit better. No?
I mean, he was very consistent, but he's still struggling. I mean, I think he has that TP thing going on, and he's still working on it. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, I mean, I think he plays more so in his mind, obviously, because he's got it in his mind that, well, okay, the TP.
I think that's what he's suffering from. And he's working on it, but, so on one side, people say, you just have to keep shooting, you just have to keep shooting, you just have to work your way through it. And then there's the other side that says, you just really need to take a break, give your brain a break, walk away from it for a while, then come back to it.
Do you think there's a perfect answer I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all answer.
I don't either.
To be quite frank with you.
You need to be true to yourself and do what you think is best for you.
Yeah, I'm come to the conclusion there's not a.
See, I always say you should fight through it because how are you gonna recreate that pressure in any other situation? I mean, there's really no way to recreate the pressure of being in a big tournament to get over it. Like, I can't come up with a better answer than you need to go to them and work it out in your mind through that tournament. You just have to suck it up, pay the price,
right,
go to it, and work on just that while you're there. I've just been an advocate of that, but I understand.
Well, that makes sense too. If you're just
depends.
working on that and you're not worried about how you score or anything like that, that makes perfect sense.
Right.
But trying to convince somebody to disregard their score, spend that much money, and go to a big tournament
and disregard, and still not have the pressure,
But that's where to me it's I don't know if it's an oxymoron or I don't know what the right word would be. Counterintuitive, I guess. Everybody wants to go to a big shoot and do well at the shoot.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't care too much about it because it'll keep you from getting what you really want.
Right. In the end result, yeah.
Yeah,
you
can't really care about your score, but you have to be able to, I guess, care about the process that will get you the score in the long run.
And by and large, nobody really cares except you anyway.
Exactly. I have told that to Vince many times.
And
nobody
a lot
cares.
of times when there's a sponsored shooter, they do feel more pressure because they have the sponsor's name on their back. They feel like they're they need to represent. And when they go out there and they shoot like crap, they feel like they're representing the companies. And a lot of times I feel like that kind of backfires on people when they first get sponsored by a company.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
I know that really amped up. I had Target Panic a few years ago, and I wouldn't say it's the worst because I have seen Vince go through a few little things, and I would say his is probably the worst I've seen. Just me personally.
Honey, you should see me sometime.
I've never got to really see you shoot. We've never really got to shoot together, and really, I would like to.
Well, if you'd come to some 3Ds,
I know.
I'll go shoot a field with you sometime.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
I'm so busy glamping.
But
I know, right?
She's going to become a champion glamper.
You know, I had my target panic was so bad, I couldn't even shoot here. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
In the calmness of myself and my home, and you
Mhm.
know, so if I can shoot here and get groups out to 40 and 45 yards and 50 yards decent, then I'm like, this is stupid. I know I can shoot. Why this is stupid.
Yeah, but it totally changes when you're in a big tournament.
No, it shouldn't. You should
it
shoot
shouldn't.
all your processes should be the same. It shouldn't.
It shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't matter.
But when you're there and the one person that always
You know why?
stinking
Because
beats
your brain
ya-
checks out and says, "Oh my God, it's for score! Oh my God!"
Mhm.
Well, yeah. Your knees get weak. Your arms feel like they won't pull the bow back. You can't hardly get a quiver or your arrow out of your quiver without everything falling out. I mean, you look like a bumbling idiot. But, I mean, it's been for real before. And I feel like I've worked through it, like, mentally by, like, kind of what you did. I kind of immerse myself in some of the things mentally that I could do. And so I find that fascinating. I know not everyone does, and not everyone likes hearing about the mental side of it, but I do. But not thinking really hard about it is another thing I like to do, is try not to overthink it. And a
Well,
lot of those books
and actually the meditation thing is the same principle. I
Right.
mean, the meditation thing is just about like clearing your brain
and taking your mind
And-
completely out
Yes,
of
Yeah.
it.
and staying in the moment.
Right.
Like-
right. And and so, you know, it's going to get better. Texas was a lot better. I'm hopeful the
Good.
next one's going to be a lot better.
Part of the thing, too, with the mental side of it is when archers get to worrying about what other people are shooting or how they're
Sure.
shooting or what their score is and what their own score is compared, and you can't do that. Those
No.
are factors that are out of your control.
Really
And-
try not to even look at other people's targets.
Yeah. And like I said, staying in the moment, stay focused on the here and now. Don't worry about that shot that just happened on the other target, and you can't worry about what's coming up. You can't, don't even let yourself think about it. Stay totally present. And I really tried to do that. And personally, I felt like it helped me tremendously.
Boy,
Right.
I got off course on Sunday for a stretch of about 5 or 6 targets, which killed me. But outside of that, I shot.
You felt good.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
shot
good.
much better. Yeah, Saturday was great.
Good.
Saturday was great because I was about 5 or 6 targets in, and I'm shooting along just fine. And I'm like, oh, cool. And our group was great. We had a great time. We had a good group. That was nice.
I
That
did too.
helps.
I
And
had a
it-
really nice group.
And it actually felt more like, I don't know, I didn't even think about being at a big tournament, to be honest with you. I was just shooting some 3D targets.
Do you think that that's easier at a 3D tournament than you would like at an indoor situation?
I'm honestly probably, yeah.
With your
Um,
smaller groups and you're further out in the woods and you feel a little more isolated,
It-
or is
well-
it about the same? Because you can't see anyone else.
Except
I
that
think it's the same but different because of that.
Because
if that
you
makes any
can't
sense. Because
see
you
how
don't know
every-
what's going on. But again, you can't let yourself think about that because that is
But at the same
Archery
time,
suicide.
because you take turns shooting individually one at a time, you actually have more people watch you at a 3D than you would
That
at
is true.
an
That's
indoor
true.
tournament.
because no one's paying attention to
where
an
a
indoor
whole
tournament.
line of
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say no one, because I feel like people watch targets. I mean, I'm not one of those. I could care less what everyone's doing. Well, okay, so maybe the people on my bail I watch because you have to score for them,
Sure.
or in some form of scoring. But like in an indoor situation, if somebody was really wanting to know, all they would have to look down is to see how many holes you
that's
have
not
where.
that's not what I'm referring to though. Like watch you make the shot, like because
Yeah.
everybody else is shooting at the same time.
But there is a top line and bottom line.
true. Maybe that other line is
Yeah,
Could be watching you.
Yeah, I mean that if you're like top on the first bail and you got 15.
so you get
girls-
watched every
you
which
might,
way.
But yeah, I mean, I was just wondering as far as like being in a smaller group and getting more comfortable with those individuals. Like, does it feel? Because you've been in an indoor situation too. I was just wondering, and I don't know your take.
I don't know. I really don't think about it. Especially 3D.
Maybe we shouldn't be talking about this.
No, it's okay for me personally.
So-
I don't know. I mean, they are watching you, but they're not watching you. 'Cause, I mean, one of them might be watching you, or a couple of them, but they're back there chit-chatting and visiting and stuff. So, I don't think you've got like four sets of eyes, burning a hole in your back or in your
burning hole.
No, I
The
don't.
cool thing about the senior women's is, like, if you wanted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, they're going to have that stuff with them. Those women carry everything. I'm telling you, no matter what you need, like, I feel like a hard-boiled egg.
Well, here you go.
Like, I've got one.
Oh, hold on. I have a pan. We can just cook one right here in the sun with this magnifying glass.
That's what it's like. It's the last couple times I shot with them, like, these women have everything.
That's
like,
what I feel like
roll
Marsha
of-
Jones is like.
Yeah.
I call her the MacGyver of archery, like, because I'm like, oh, dang, I'd like to have something to push these target pins in with. She's like, oh, here's a fork. And I'm like,
Okay.
well, I never think of that. You can pull it and push it. I mean, she just has everything, it feels like. So I know what you're talking about. But I mean, I don't think
it's
she'd
like,
carry it in a hard-boiled
like
egg,
those
but-
women, like, have full meals. Like, here's a
That's
brisket I have in
My chair.
my
Did you
chair.
need something out of my crock pot? They bring out the nice tablecloths. And the
Right, in a full place setting. And
It's
plates,
like that. It's
dinnerware.
like, I was like, wow, man, I'm like underpacked for this group, aren't I?
Well, maybe you shouldn't have to if they have
I
everything.
know. You can look at it either way. Like, I don't feel like I'm bringing enough stuff, or I don't need to bring that. I probably don't even need to bring arrows.
Betty Sue's going to have that.
Exactly.
Yep.
I really think the hardest part of 3D is if you need somebody to hold the umbrella for you, and depending on the position of the sun or whatever, they could be right there, like right next to you. And I try not to watch them. I try to look down or look away or whatever so that I'm not distracting them in any way.
For some reason,
What
the
do you
umbrella
mean?
holder doesn't bother me too much.
What do you mean? Like the umbrella's too close to your face?
like like
Depending on
like
the angle of the
had-
sun.
Right, like I've have
Oh,
girls
boy.
that had to stand really close to me, or I've had to stand like within your personal space.
They're in your
You
bubble.
can smell their secret or
Exactly,
dickery.
just
Yeah.
depending on the wind or the angle of the sun
Yeah.
or whatever. And
Hopefully
sometimes they're at your back, but sometimes you're facing them when you're shooting, and so they're like right here. And you're looking at the target, but you still know somebody's standing there in your
That is a
peripheral
little
vision. And
awkward.
so I think that's why everybody is just so really close in 3D. It's like you walk out of there after the weekend best friends. I mean,
you
really,
know,
you make
It's like
like
being
4 or
at
5
camp
new best
for a
friends.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bailey, did you hear her when she did the John Dudley thing?
Oh, she went and
She did.
Yeah.
And then they actually, her and that other gal that
did
was
a
at that camp did a
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah. I have it on
Um,
my phone. I haven't listened to it yet.
Well, one of the things she said is she felt like 3D was a little more of a mental focus than
Really?
yeah, because and part of it was because of the length of the day and so few arrows. Like you're there so long and you're only shooting 20 arrows.
Yeah, that is.
You know, three and a half
crazy.
hours to shoot 20 arrows.
Yeah.
And you'll feel exhausted. It will feel like you shot 100.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I don't know
yeah.
why, but it does.
That's probably it. I think Bailey's probably right
It-
on with that.
But it's like it's just the how long it is, and you get hungry, and you're like, God, I could have shot. You know,
Or you're hot when it's 100 degrees and
Right.
you're sweating to death.
Well, at
and,
her
and it's trying to
level-
keep from being
At
dehydrated.
her level, a
and-
small mistake could cost her because at her level, I mean, is she pro in the 3Ds?
She's shooting women's known 45, which is
Right.
amateur, but if a pro, like an NFAA pro comes in, like Bailey,
they could shoot that.
they-
the women can,
yeah.
yeah.
that's the class
Ah.
that they would shoot. Or they
Okay.
could shoot the open pro, which is all unknown, all
Okay.
judging.
Well, I was just wondering because, I mean, at that level that
Oh, yeah.
she's at,
Yeah.
the smallest mistake, there's hardly any way to make it up because there are so few arrows to make it up in.
Yeah, but in some ways, 3D is easier to make up
Because you
points
can make up
because-
points. You do have that
Ah,
opportunity.
okay.
Because you
Yeah.
can shoot 12s or aim at 12s. And whereas indoor, you lose a point,
Yeah,
you lose a
'cause-
point, you never get it back.
Yeah, because I can tell you, I made up a lot of 8s shooting at some 12s that
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
See,
I
that's
mean-
that's just like my Saturday. I shot I'm pretty sure I shot 2 5s and 3 8s and only shot 6 down. So I shot however many
Right.
12s that would make up that difference.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So, yeah, I think sometimes, I mean, I've seen people zip targets and still pull in a good score gunning at 12s. As a matter of fact, after I went through my crazy period, I started shooting at 12. I did, and I made some points.
Crazy period. The bug. Somebody referred to it as the bug, and I like that.
I made a really bad shot. I made a bad shot, and I couldn't get it out of my head, and I made about 4 or 5 more bad shots, and then finally was like, okay, now I can make a good shot again. And
Did you have that boiled egg?
Must have. It was a brisket.
And the brisket. Yeah. And the French silk pie for dessert.
Right. She had a refrigerator.
How did she get the French silk pie in her chair?
I don't know, but those women have everything. I'm telling you.
Refrigerator.
Is your refrigerator running? No, but I'm dragging it.
So
only as fast as I am.
But you overcame it, and that's the important thing, and it's something to build on and go from there.
I had 5, 6 crazy targets, and then got my head out of my butt and started shooting good again.
Because you could have had 20 crazy targets, and you
then
didn't.
I started really shooting at 12s, and I did pick up a couple of 8s doing that. But they were if I pick up an 8 and I'm not that far off from where I'm aiming at, I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't want to be aiming at the the vitals and end up in the butt of the thing.
Right.
Because I can do that too.
Yeah.
Or the spine or the
Yeah. That's the other thing is I had issues with if I aimed right at the 12 and say it was 25 or 30 yards and in, I dropped 3. I hit 3 8s exactly low right.
I did that too on Saturday.
And then if I got out to a farther yardage, then I tended to hit high left. Well, I talked to Frank, #FixItFrank, and he said that it sounded like one of my axes was off. So Vince took my scope down to Doug, and he said it was off just a little bit. So hopefully I won't have those issues, because that gets kind of maddening. It's like, okay, I should be able to pound this 12 at 25 yards,
right?
And I'm dropping out low right,
right,
consistently,
right.
That'll make you a little crazy if you don't know for sure what's going on.
I'm not entirely sure I had my sight tape correct yet, because I just got my bow back and had to kind of resight it in. So I started adding a yard.
Yeah.
And then I was hitting.
Yeah. And you were on a time frame. I mean, you just did that the Tuesday before you left.
Yeah, and we left
basically the day before.
Thursday morning. So, and then, like I said, at the bags, you couldn't really, I thought, well, I'm going to go to the bags and try to sight myself in. And then it was like, whoosh, where's the dot? No, there it is.
And another reason I don't ever go to the bags is because I feel like I hit differently on the bags than I do on the 3D targets. Yeah. So I'm not even putting myself through that. I don't even go to the bags.
Go straight to the practice
Sunday,
range.
I never warm up on Sunday. I just go out and shoot cold. I feel like that's better for me than trying to go to the practice range and get on the bags and know that it's going to hit different or fight the crowd or whatever.
The one thing I did go to I usually try to pull off 3 or 4 shots, and I don't worry about where they hit. I don't ever make a sight adjustment. But
just warm up.
I just get my arm warmed up. But Saturday, I don't know, I was probably 5 or 6 targets in, and it was going pretty well. And Mr. walks up with Anna and Otto.
Frazier?
Baby Frazier? Did he walk or did he float up to you?
He walked up, and he had a very sour look on his face.
Could he fit down the trail, because he's giant?
Do you need
no.
Big head. Was he like a Macy's Day Parade coming down to see you?
He's not okay. But
pulling his strings.
So he had a sour look on his face. I was like, oh my God. Because he has his second day of shooting, so he was done with his tournament, was regular tournament shooting. And Anna and Otto were with him, And he was like, how's it going? I was like, it's going pretty good. And then I was like, how about you? He goes, I'm in the shoot-off. And I was like, I think I was inappropriate on the range. Like, oh, my God.
I did the same thing. Brian Harris showed me the text that Jim sent him, and I'm like, oh, my God, he did it. And just everything was like, I got to calm down. We're shooting.
And then all the rest of the girls in my group were like, and I think that actually helped my Saturday, because I was like, oh, my God. At that point, I was like, I don't even care how I shoot. And then I shot pretty well the rest of the day. But, and he's not going to like that I say this. He had tears well up in his eyes.
Aww. No, totally. I'd be a ballin' baby. No, totally.
He did.
Well,
And-
yeah, absolutely. You
and
bet.
I was like, oh my gosh, I was so excited.
Yeah,
I was
it was
so
cool. It was so
excited.
cool. It was neat. And here's another thing that I feel like I've overcome mentally. Not that I ever begrudge anybody, because I don't. But, you get down on yourself. But found out that Jim had made his shoot off. I was like, oh my gosh. And then the one girl in our group who finished with high score for the day, the high scorer in your group turns in the cards for the day to the range official.
Oh, okay.
And she said, this is the first time I've ever gotten to do this.
Oh.
And I was just like so happy for her, even though my day didn't go as exactly how I had wanted it to. But it was just so cool to just like let all that go and focus on somebody else for a change.
Mhm.
That's cool.
That's so cool.
But,
Well, we're celebrating everybody.
But
Keep-
then
yeah.
I was like really anxious, like let's get done with this so I
Yeah,
can go.
go watch.
So then I found Jim at Art's trailer. He does the McKinsey targets or whatever. And I think he was on his like second carton of cigarettes by then. He
Who,
was just
Jim?
he was just chain smoking.
Double-fisted smoking.
Yes.
He had 2 in at one time.
I sent him a text when I had a chance, and all I got back was thanks. And it's like, yeah, he's probably pooping peach pits about now.
He actually seemed pretty calm. He didn't run over to the bags like I saw a lot of the pros over at the bags.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting in the wind, trying to figure out where things would hit in the wind, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they had a lot of wind to shoot in, so.
We should totally get him over here. Come here and put on a headset.
Yeah, here.
Pibby.
Well, he's going to have to
Here,
take
he can
over
put mine
mine.
on.
Oh, he could. Oh,
That's
no,
okay.
you ask him questions. I talk to him all the time.
Oh, well, yeah, but you just ruined my chance to go to the bathroom.
You want to go potty?
I have to go potty.
I'll get on there.
Oh, that's all right. I'll hold it. I'm a teacher. I can do it. I have a giant bladder.
Hand me my phone, please.
Oh. You can't text. No, you're on a podcast. Focus
Oh.
on
That's right. Focus.
Dang it.
Come on.
answering text.
Jim Pibb. His new
Jim-
name.
my
I
new
call him
name's
Jim
Jim
Pibb
Pibb.
now. It's not Pibb anymore, and it's not Jim. It is now Jim Pibb.
Pibb.
Because they wrote it on the scoreboard. They have a
I
white.
saw it.
And I was laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're writing Pibb on the board.
I
And people
know.
around me are like, what? What? I was like, they're writing Pibb on the board. So we're all looking at it.
Who wrote
Everybody
it?
knows. I don't know.
Be like,
Was it
I'm guessing it was,
was
probably
it Marsha? I think
it was D or
Marsha.
Marsha.
Marcia usually does the board.
Right.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she was writing, but somebody had to have said something maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, or maybe just because they know you, but I was cracking out. Jim Pibb. So now he's Jim Pibb.
Yeah, everything she refers to me in now is
Is Jim Pibb.
Jim Pibb.
Well, and Mike Terrell, when he was reading Jim Pibb Frazier, like,
Yeah.
what?
You don't have any idea. You wouldn't believe how many times I had to explain that Sunday when I was walking around taking pictures of the other senior classes.
Uh-huh.
So finally I just got tired of telling the whole story. Just said, oh, it's an old CB handle,
Yeah. Well,
which
here's-
it is.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
tell the story now, because at least our Bow Divas listeners will
Uh,
understand.
25 years ago, I used to do rock crawling and jeeping with Jim Forbes and my little brother. And he had this Jeep that he kept, when he'd get it all twisted up and whatever, he'd always get the fan into the radiator. And in order to stop the leak, he would take like your regular household pepper, put it in the radiator, and it would stop the leak and get him home. So they started calling him Dr. Pepper.
Oh.
So a couple years later, I came along,
I think I've heard this story, but
and I started
it's a
jeeping with him.
refresh.
And everybody said, hey, he needs a CB handle. And Forbes pipes up and says, I know, we'll call him Mr. Pibb because he's just like Dr. Pepper, only different.
Mhm.
And it stuck. And that, of course, went through the archery talk and the old ASN days as my name on there. And now, what is it, 15 years later, a bunch of people shortened it to Pibb.
And you don't
Pipper,
even like Mr.
Pibster.
Pibb. You like Dr.
Yeah, I
Pepper.
drink Dr. Pepper.
Right. So then it's evolved to actually being on the shoot down scoreboard at
That's cool.
the ASA
That
Pro
was pretty cool.
for Geezer Pro.
I didn't see it until afterwards. I heard him talking,
Mm-hmm.
but somebody sent me a picture of the scoreboard, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
That was special.
yeah.
So-
It was,
Just
it
for
was pretty
you.
neat. It was pretty neat.
And
So
then
walk
the-
us through your
Then
weekend.
the next day, Terrell come up and asked me about it.
Yeah, because he made a comment about Dr. Pepper.
Right.
But yeah, I figured that somebody would let him know, clue him in on the story.
So,
Walk us through your weekend. So what happened?
You know,
How did you get from
Point A to
point
B.
A to being in the shoot down?
I'll have to start it last year. And last year, when I jumped into that class, you guys know because you were doing another podcast at the time with me, where one of my goals was to make the shoot down that year.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of struggled the first few shoots last year, and it was a year of learning because, you know, it had been a couple of years since I'd been on a pro range because I'd gone from semi-pro to senior open, and going back to that range, those ranges was kind of intimidating, and seeing those yardages again, I was out of practice at that, and just had a lot of doubt last year in me, self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So this year it started out at Foley, and I was just barely out of the top 20 in Foley, and I think it was 21st or 22nd, something like that. And I thought, okay, this is getting better. And Barb has been there from day one telling me, hey, don't get down on yourself. Every one of these you're improving.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to look at it like that, because in that class, it can be any one of those guys can shoot, and it can be anybody's day. So this year I went from Foley to Fort Benning, and when I got to Fort Benning, I finished 16th and got a check. My first ever check in a pro class.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, the way my mind works, that told me, okay, dummy, you do belong here.
Mm-hmm.
So it took kind of some of that pressure off of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just happy that I'd finally drew a check and felt like I belonged.
And I'm going to interject here because I've become the mental nerd
Right.
here, you know, with all of my mental stuff that I've been working on and reading. And that is one of the things that I have read that can help you or hinder your progress is if you feel like you belong or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like if you feel like you're a fraud or if you're legitimate.
And I knew that going clear back to 2008 when I had jumped from open seat to semi-pro and just totally fell on my face because I never felt like I belonged there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like I'd earned my way there. I probably could have shot with those guys had my mental state been right.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went back to A and then won out of that and into semi, I knew I belonged there because they told me.
Mm-hmm.
And people that are close to me, like Barb and even Thunder, and you've been around to see a bunch of it, that, you know, one of my things is self-belief. You know, in my mind I know I can shoot, but when I get out there, the doubt creeps in. And but this year has just been constant, I've climbed just a little bit each time. So I really didn't go into the weekend with many expectations other than I just want to go shoot my bow and have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew the bow was shooting good. As long as I had good numbers, I knew I'd be okay. So I got into the first day, and I was shooting along real good. I was sitting at about anywhere from 2 to 4 up most of the day, and shot a 5. Just totally misjudged one. Battled back from that some. Turned around, shot another 5. So, but I ended up, I had a good group of guys to shoot with. I shot with, who did I shoot with on day one? I know Dwayne Price was one, Richard Holmes was one, and Dave Tetrick of Pearson.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all right there. You know, the lowest guy in the group was 5 down. Dave was 1 down, and then Dwayne and I were both 2 down. So that put me going into day 2. They peer group you on day 2. So I get out there, and I'm on target number 7. And I looked over at the number 1 group, and Jeff Eves, and I think Michael was in it, Braden, and maybe Carl Atkins. I'm not sure who all was in that group, but I looked over there and I thought to myself, I'm going to go shoot my game and let those guys beat each other up today and just have fun.
Right.
And started off, the first target of the day was a 12. Went to the second target, and I was like a 16th of an inch over the top of the 12. And then I hit the next 5 in a row. We turned the corner and shooting along great. And I was about, I think, target 11 or 12. Walked up on this target and looked at it. It was that javelina, and I thought, that's, he's at least 46. So I'm going to put 5 on it and hold center. Wasn't enough. He was 49 yards. I was just,
wow.
Perfect line, just barely under the 8 ring.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching that arrow go, and I was wishing I could do like pool and give it a little body English, but it just dove out at the last, and I might have said a choice word or two. And I was shooting with Brian Stokes, and Brian tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Don't worry about that." He said, "You got enough in the bank. Just keep doing it."
Mm-hmm.
And then Brian, he had started off kind of slow that day, but he started coming on. He was calling mostly uppers, and he started getting them. Well, we get down to about the last 4 targets, and we all looked at the scorecards, and me and Brian were right there neck and neck. And Dave turned around and looked at us. He says, it's your all's day. He says, "I ain't got nothing for you today." So, but we were having a good time because it was a great group of guys to shoot with. And met a new guy, Ron Firestone. He was super nice. And we got down to the very last target, and Brian shot a 12. And I knew I needed that 12, and it was going to come down. We didn't know for sure where we were at shoot-off wise, but we knew we had a chance at it. And I picked a good number and got it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Awesome.
that was the difference between him going to shoot-off or me going to shoot-off.
Wow.
And we walked down to the end of the range, and, Art's down there, and all the leaders are down there trying to figure out who's in it. And there was another, Carl Atkins. He had shot the same score as me. And Dwayne was there, and I'm trying to think who else might have been there. Oh, gosh. Several guys were standing around there were several at like 10 up and whatever, and I had 11 up. And so did Carl, but I had him on 12 count. So I went into the shoot down in 4th place. I think I had a total of 19 12s for the weekend.
Wow.
So
Very
it would have been great if I got rid of than 3 5s.
Yeah.
But I was on cloud 9.
I'm sure you were.
It was intimidating. It was scary. It was fun. It was, the actual shoot off itself. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to shoot in front of all these people, but
it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't. I mean, it didn't affect me at all. I was more nervous about. I'd never really judged out in the open, out on that grass like that. So I was worried more about, are my numbers good?
Mm-hmm.
But I had heard, who was it? I think it was Connie years ago said, Connie Griffin, she said, see what your first arrow does and then adjust your numbers from there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. And the wind was a factor. I had good numbers on everything. And the first one I shot, I thought, it went left on me for an 8, but it was 12 height. It was just left.
Mm-hmm. And the wind was blowing from right to left.
From right
there.
to left.
Yeah.
So I went to the next target, and it just broke low, and I shot right under it, just barely under it. So when I got down to the other end and went to shoot on the links, it was a little bit farther. So I held over to the right, maybe 3 inches, and it broke a good shot, and it hit right behind the pin.
Yeah, because probably a lull in the wind.
Right. So then took me to the mule deer, and I had shot my first target short, and it was out there around that distance. I thought, I'm going to give him a couple more, and I shot like 2 yards over the 12. And that took me to that close one, and that shot was something else. I mean, Brian had told me, draw your bow in the wind, and wait for the wind to go into a lull before you start into your shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I was holding, waiting for it to slow down. And when the wind did slow down, I started pulling really hard on the bow and getting on the 12. And about that time, a gust of wind hit that umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys could see it from behind me, but it got the umbrella got real close to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know I don't think it hit me. But the wind came around the front of the umbrella and caught the front of my stabilizer. And I was so hard and deep into the shot, when the stabilizer went left, the shot broke, and the arrow just followed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
she was having a devil of a time.
Yeah,
with
she
the
was.
umbrella. That wind was pretty brutal, and she was having a really tough time controlling the umbrella. Of course, we're all up there cringing and everything because we could see what was going on.
I asked John and Clifton and Connie one time, so what's it like up there? Are you nervous? And they're like, no, you don't have time to be. And I never could understand that. Now I do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time to be nervous. You don't have, because it goes so quick. I mean, you're going through what you need to go through, and even the crowd behind me, I could hear you guys back there cheering for me, but I couldn't pay it any attention because I had to be focused on.
Right.
It was cool though. It was fun.
So did you get much sleep that night?
That night I did, yeah.
Yeah.
That night I slept good.
Good.
But
you were pleased.
It was just kind of a monkey off my back thing.
Yeah.
And that's a good feeling.
It was. I mean, I went into it with the attitude of, hey, the worst I can do here is 5th place. I've made it this far, and I'm happy with that.
Right, icing on the cake, really.
Mm-hmm.
So,
personally, that's how I would look at it, or would try to look at it. I think is if you just make it to the shoot off, that's the cake, is getting there, and then being there is just, who cares? I made the freaking shoot off at an ASA as a pro,
So and it's little things along the way to that mean something to you. Like Nishan sent me a text after Fort Benning and said, "Hey, good job, man." I said, "Yeah, I'm beating myself up." And he says, "Baby step, just baby step your way to the podium."
Mm-hmm.
And Doug, he's so awesome, man. I mean, I got back from Fort Benning and I said, it's time to put strings on this bow. So when he sends them to me, and I've got it, it's right over there. You can see that baggie over there, Barb, on the bench right there by the, yeah.
Did he write you a little message on it?
Yeah. Did you see it?
No.
That's what he sent.
That just sounds like.
That's what he sent my strings in.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So, and it said Senior Pro Podium strings on it.
Yep.
So, in the little stuff like that just, when I know I can shoot, but it really helps when you have people that believe in you, too. It gives you that little extra to go in there with. And, stuff like that in Nishan's text. And Nishan was like, baby, step your way there. So I guess that means the next step is to make a podium. So
there you go.
That's the next goal. But
good goal to have.
And Saturday when I was done shooting and I got over and saw her, the look on her face made the whole day. And
I was like, oh my God.
And the fact that she had a good day finally. I was more excited about how she shot that day than how I had done.
Yeah.
So, and that's the honest truth.
Barb's probably thinking, all those freaking hours I spent hauling those targets around the yard. And
I probably can't hear me on the recording, but I told him, I was like, I feel like I've given birth.
Like you work so hard. You work so hard.
Hello. Hello. Julie had to take a bathroom break.
You did work hard.
It wasn't so much that. I mean, not so much the work, but it's like even just the hours of conversations we've had.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Do you and Keith do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk on and on about shoot, like it becomes an obsession, and you talk about it and this and that and the bow and this and you know what release and what arrows and watch each other spend hours and hours and
That and goals.
and Jim's been, you know, last year, you know, one of my pet peeves with him was always about not spending time judging. So I started moving targets around. I didn't do it so much this year, but I did it quite a bit last year.
You did, and it helped.
We did it earlier this year, and then even at the shoots we went to,
We spent some time.
we do a lot of like kill shoot from his stake, and then we'll see where it lands, and then we'll talk about where did you judge it at, and then I'll go and range it, and we'll compare. You know, so we even use
And
local
we'll
shoots.
take into condition, you know, was it a dark target in a tunnel? Was it out in the
we have
light? Is it cloudy? Is it sunny?
you
Stuff
know.
like that.
So yeah, we've spent a lot of time. So I'm like, when he told me he made the podium, it's like I was like, I feel like I gave birth. you know,
One of the
it was
things,
like a lot of work.
one of the things I've been doing this year that is different from what I've done in the past is I'm famous for walking up to the stake, you know, with my sight set on, say, 48 yards, and then looking at the target and going, oh, he's only 6, and taking 2 yards off. This year, I go up and I judge the target. I look at it, see what I think it is. I ground judge it to it. I judge back from it. I walk over, pick up my bow, I set my sight, and I leave it. I don't change it when I go to the stake.
You don't.
I live with it.
Or have you been? Now, let me ask you this, and we've talked about this a lot. We've talked about different targets and how much space, like if you're going to aim at the 12, what yardage range you're going to aim at the 12, and certain targets don't have a lot of 8 ring underneath the 12.
Right.
So you don't have a lot of margin for error.
You know, I called 2 uppers all weekend long, and I got them both. But I've shot that low 12 for so long that I know where it's at on the target. And that's just where my bow wants to go. The pin wants to go.
At what range, though, were you still shooting at the 12s?
Honestly.
All of them?
Yeah. I shot at every one of them.
Even the javelina, that's where you picked up your 5.
Yes, I shot
Okay,
at.
I'm going to be a little critical of you there.
I shot at the 12.
But we've talked about that. Like, there's not much 8 ring below that 12.
But then I turned the corner and there's a 49-yard black buck, and I got the 12 on it. So
right
at first shooter. So
lucky.
Yeah, pretty much.
Admit it. You got lucky on that.
It was luck. I'd rather be lucky than good any day.
Yeah.
But it was neat. Sunday, I got to go around and take pictures of the women's senior classes, the men's, some of the amateur senior classes, and it was.
Tell them a little bit about the Bowmasters thing too. What you're doing there.
Oh well, Art's asked me to help out with Bowmasters, so basically I'll come off the range and I'll make sure I got all the scores from that round so we can get them posted on the page. But doing some interview stuff, which I can talk on this thing all day long and not have any issues. But when you're on camera, that's a different deal. So I'm not really comfortable there yet. Art says eventually I'll get there, but so Sunday, we're getting a lot of actually the last 2 shoots we've got, the senior pros have gotten gotten more than usual, some bow junkie coverage. But I talked to Art about this, and we decided that we needed to kind of not just focus on the senior pros, but kind of model it after Archer, what they're doing, only for the senior classes, and include some of the amateur senior stuff. So I went out Sunday
That's
and got
good.
on all those ranges and got pictures of those other classes, because I know several of the guys from shooting in Senior Open and just guys that I've shot with over the years that are in those classes, and it's always good to go out and see those guys and visit with them. And
I think that's a good thing, and it's good for the sport
yeah, I mean, because
in general.
It
Just
is.
to cover more than just, you know, not taking anything away from the pros or anything like that, because they deserve to be where they are and they deserve coverage. But there are a lot of archers that show up for these tournaments, and it's
Yeah.
nice to give them some attention.
it is.
Thousand people there, and
Yeah.
less than about 200 of them are the pros.
Yeah.
The rest of them are the amateurs.
Yeah, they're the
Yeah.
backbone of the organization,
Mhm.
you know. So, and one of my favorite parts of the weekend was Sunday when we were all getting ready to leave and we all gathered over at Art's trailer to take the Missouri picture,
Mhm.
and that was one of my favorite parts of the weekend, because now when Missouri shows up, we're as a whole we're a force to be reckoned with at a national level.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of people in the top 10 and a bunch of winners. You podiumed. You know, that was awesome. Willie, he won his
Mhm.
first ever podium was a win. And, you know,
Was that Willie's first podium?
yes.
Really? I thought he'd been there before.
Yeah,
No,
I did
he's
too.
been on the team shoot podium a lot, but he's
Yeah.
never finished top 3. And I was really happy for him. Who?
Bailey podium?
Bailey did.
Mhm.
Jordan Dearman did.
I'm pretty sure that Bailey's
Um,
never not podiumed at any of the ASA she's ever shot.
Really?
I think she's always been on the podium every time.
She took a cool picture of us and posted it. That made me feel good.
Mr. Shoot Down.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, you know, having all the Missouri people over there and get that group photo and whatever, that was a cool part,
Mhm.
too, you know. Because, you know, it feels like we're doing something here in the state. The shoots are getting tougher. I mean, the work Kelly's putting in, the work Frank's putting in,
Well,
you know.
don't you think that's part of the reason some of us did so well? Or,
Oh, I know so.
Because we've got several clubs that have really tried to model them.
Yeah.
Yes.
We shot Sedalia over the weekend, and Kelly set up a freaking tough course, and I judged the whole thing. I was just practicing, and it ate my lunch. I mean, it was tough for me, but I kept telling myself, nope, you're going to keep doing it because it's only going to make you better in the long run.
That's fact.
That's true.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I agree.
Kevin Stalker McGrath sent me a picture of his scorecard from that shoot that you guys were at. Huh? Yeah, he shot like 18 up.
Mhm.
But he marked down the yardages on his card. And, man, you could have put your pin on set your sight on about 46 and held high and low all day from his stake.
He shot from the back stake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
See,
yeah.
part of my deal was just, I think, my head. I was just judging wrong. But that's good, though. It's a learning experience. And like what you said, them setting the ranges up tough, I think, helps everybody.
It's only going to make us all better.
And there are more ranges going to an ASA format, and they have the McKenzie targets. We're finally going to
Yep.
catch up to some of the other states. That
Then
have always,
shout out to Eric Camp, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He podiumed.
Yes, he did.
Then I don't know if did you guys see it after the shoot down when I walked over there and they were all standing there?
Mm-mm.
And he picked me up and hugged me.
Oh, I
Picked me up
didn't
about
see
3
that.
feet off the ground. Yeah.
What was hilarious was Eric's podium picture.
Yeah,
He's
he's
taller.
as tall as the guy.
He's as taller as the guy in
Yeah.
first on the top one. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Mike asked him, "Can you squat down a little bit so you're not taller than the guy on the top of the podium?"
It's like, it's not clear who's in first.
Yeah.
Yeah, my 6'6" toddler buddy.
That's right. World's tallest toddler.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
But
Well, we're really happy for you, and we were all real proud of you. And,
it meant a lot to me to hear you guys back there. I wasn't ignoring you guys. I just
oh, well, yeah, I
But-
didn't think so. But
I could hear every one of you. That was cool.
yeah, we were pretty vocal. I mean, I think we've brought redneck.
You did, man.
To
it
the
was like
ASAs.
Hillbilly Central out there. It was awesome.
I don't know. I think that's pretty good. Like I posted on Facebook the other day, we were watching pro bowling. And I mean, that crowd was freaking. Now, they were quiet when they were actually bowling.
Right.
But there was some energy and goofiness going on. And it's like, and that makes for more interesting watching than everybody being so quiet and serious. And it's like, so, yeah, we need to throw a little Ernie McCracken into into archery and see if it gets big earn. That's right.
What was it, Jebediah, that sawed the hooves off the horse? I done disgraced my body when he got a tattoo, and he turns around and he goes, I never can go home now, and he has this little bitty tattoo, but he turns around and he's got a giant eagle on his back. Sorry, I got on a tangent.
No, that's great.
Squirrel.
Yeah. I know.
But
happens.
that's kind of how it was. I mean, I felt like really the Missouri contingent that was there was pretty vocal, pretty loud.
Yes, they were.
Cheering loud and everything, and I think that makes for a more fun and interesting time.
Well, it sure made me feel good knowing y'all was back there.
Good. That's good. We were all proud of you, that's for sure.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It felt it was in all honesty, it was an honor to be out there with those guys because I've seen them all, every one of them, in the shoot off before, and I know that just to be out there with them meant something. So much respect to those guys too. Tony, I talked to him afterwards. He was awesome to talk to, and he was real happy for me that I'd made it, and Art was too, and so yeah, that was a neat deal.
Very good. So now we expect it every time from now on.
I'm just good. Another thing was I was getting text messages from Forbes. She's the first person I text when I'm done shooting. Huh?
I didn't pay attention to
No, but even on day one, you're the first person I text, and then usually it's Forbes after that. So he responds back, just go out and do Pibb shit tomorrow. And I'm like, well, I did Pibb shit today. Just, being a smart aleck. So when I sent him the text that said that I'd made the shoot down, I got a big woohoo and a go do Pibb stuff. So.
Yep. And it's a process.
It is.
Like Nishan said, baby steps. It's just once everybody realizes that it's a process, then I think it just starts coming easier after that.
It is, and I even wrote a note on my bow for the weekend. Not many people thought it was as funny as I did, but.
That's what I told you.
What? Yeah, it is what you told me. Set up strong and pull, bitch. That's what my note said.
I still say that to myself sometimes because that was kind of the joke there a couple years ago was pull, bitch.
Yep.
And I'll even remind myself and say that.
Well, that's where that came from.
Yeah.
That's why I put it on there.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to put an explicit rating on this one now, this episode.
Pull beep.
S-bombs and a B.
Yes.
I didn't drop F-bombs.
S.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'll either leave it and mark it explicit or I'll just bleep it out.
It's up to you. I'm just being me.
That's okay. And that's another thing that those mental books are talking about. You have to accept you for you.
Yep.
Don't try to be something you're not.
Now, it can make for an interesting personality clash out on the range sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's part of it.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
It's just part of it, part of the game.
So.
Well, again, congratulations. We're
Well,
going to have
thank you.
to wrap
Wrap
this
it up.
up. Annalicia's getting droopy-eyed over here. And
I've been working my butt off.
yeah,
Well, thanks
she's been
for
a busy
having me.
girl. Well, thanks for spending some time with us.
I'll let BA take you out.
You're not going to go farewell from the Divas.
Farewell.
Farewell. You gotta talk like Bertha. Farewell from the Divas.
Bertha.
All righty then.
All right, Barbara, you want to take us out of here?
You want to head out?
No, Annalicia does that. It's the
Oh, that's right. It's been so long, I forgot.
www.facebook.
Yeah.
Stuff. We're gonna arrange a couple of interviews coming up. The next big shoot for archery is coming up is
Yankton?
Yankton's coming up at the end of this month.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yankton's
then
coming up. There's
couple-
another ASA the second week in May
May
in
12th,
Georgia.
Yeah.
13th, 14th.
Then Reading is also in May.
That's the first part of May. I think that's between Yankton.
Is it the first
in
part of May,
Georgia.
or is it? I thought it was later in May.
Oh, maybe it's later in May.
I may be wrong.
Heck, I don't know. Don't listen to me. I'm crazy.
If you got a really cool Lancaster calendar, it will keep y'all straight.
Yes, it will.
Don't rely
Some of
on
us
Bow
don't have
Divas. Yeah.
I think we have
Maybe
an
we should
extra
have kept
one.
it.
No, I'm using it.
Oh, just
Oh, well, so
kidding.
then you should know. What
Well,
are you
just
It's
photo or
upstairs.
just take pictures of it.
I
Okay.
do it just every month.
There
Yeah, I
you
have it
go.
on my phone. Perfect.
But anyway, so those are big archery tournaments.
Mhm.
Support your local clubs.
Yep, Warrensburg, Evolved Archery in Warrensburg. I'm going to give them a shout out. And
Yes.
Frank Iupa down there. They're going to have their very first 3D this Sunday.
Cool.
Is it this weekend?
Yeah, it's
So they should be fresh targets.
they're
brand
brand
new.
new targets, brand new lanes. They're about 3 miles. The range is 3 miles west of Warrensburg, right off of 50 Highway, right next to Skyhaven Airport.
Cool.
And if you look up Evolved Archery on Facebook, there's a map and directions and coordinates and everything on there. But
And they
it's
are.
is it this one a qualifier, an ASA qualifier?
I don't think so
Okay.
because
Okay.
yeah, I know they are an ASA club. We just don't know for sure if it's range as a qualifier.
I gotcha.
If it doesn't count as a qualifier this weekend, we'll have one soon there.
Okay. But anyway, you guys ought to check it out because I think it's going to be one of the premier shoots in this
I think so,
area of the
too.
state. I think it will draw
Well,
people.
and so this was kind of what we were talking about a minute ago too, is that some of these clubs and people who attend ASAs and now they're setting up some of these shoots. Oh my goodness,
Ooh. Uh-oh,
the
well,
dog's
Dog's
attached.
tangled.
I think that's
But
mine.
It's
Yeah, hang on, he's still hung up. Okay.
it should make
be
your ASA national game better
Mm-hmm.
if you work those challenging courses, challenge yourself. Even if you're not in Missouri, ask your clubs
Yeah.
to set them up.
Yeah. Because you can't just be score oriented. I know a lot of people really get off on shooting those really high scores, but if your main goal is to go to a national tournament and perform well there, you've got to put that part aside as far as scoring well locally and go shoot some butt kicker courses
Mhm.
because it's only going to improve you in the long run.
Right. Right. That's true.
All right.
So anyway,
All right.
look us
Birthday
up
girl.
I'm going to mention this on the podcast. This will come out Thursday. Hopefully in the next few days, we'll put something on Facebook page. We are discussing doing T-shirt orders.
Yeah, like real ones.
like
not
real-
just mine.
Well, no,
yours are
were
real, but
yours
yours
were
so
real, but
busy.
this is going to be
No.
something where you can purchase a shirt. We can custom order it in your size, and I think there'll be a couple of color selections. Is sort of what we know right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're working on getting something together there. Just starting out with T-shirts. We are not going to try to do them to make a profit. Just mainly cover the cost of the T-shirt and the postage to ship it.
Heck yeah, it's free
And-
advertising.
Mhm.
And so, we're working on putting something together. But I know that we've had some people talk about wanting some podcast T-shirts. It's been a little. Annalisa works full time, and it's tough to get to doing all that.
Yeah,
and then plus
teaches
the-
archery and
and
plus
then-
her own game, and now
I
she's
know.
glamping on top of it.
I haven't had much of a game lately. There's no time. I don't even get to really shoot much anymore right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, weekends are glamping.
Right.
But
But anyway, so check out the Facebook page, and thanks to everybody for listening, and keep listening. Hopefully we'll have some more stuff coming out soon that'll be interesting. If you think of anything interesting you want us to cover, please message us. At least one of us is on top of it, usually to answer questions.
it wouldn't be me.
Do not
I'm not
do
the
not
one on top of
hesitate to
things.
ask, but keep it appropriate, and
Yeah.
don't be a stalker.
Don't
And,
be talking
Right.
about chainsaws. Ooh.
Right.
Anyway,
We'll see ya.
all right. Thanks, everybody.
Adios.
Bye, everybody.